Whew. Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate being here. So one of the greatest teachings I know of is to welcome each other with great love and respect, to recognize the divinity in each other, to remember that the divine dwells within you as you. And it's really important to remember that too when you're in conflict with others or conflict with yourself, just to remember you are still divine and that you're just playing out your karmas and your tendencies, and give yourself and others the space to be human, to grow and learn. So my talk is on death and renewal. I call it death and renewal, but you'll hear words like change, loss. You hear trust and faith in there. So there was a lot to cover in 20 minutes. So I did my best at trying to bridge it all together for you. So for today's talk, I was inspired to speak about death and renewal. Looking over the past year and a half or so, there have been so many challenges and changes that we've all been faced with. And not just in our own personal life, but on a global level. And I would like to add on a universal level too. There are these unseen changes. There's something bigger at play. So many changes we've had to make in order to make way for a different way of living our lives. But it's also been a great opportunity for inner reflection and growth. In order to make a change, we need to let go of something. And as we all know, that can be challenging. So along with the difficulties of the pandemic, there have been many people that I've personally known who have lost loved ones, not just due to COVID, but due to other circumstances. The natural cycle of birth, death, and rebirth happens to include death, a word that often brings up imagery associated with fear, pain, and sometimes horror. Death is actually a necessary part of life. So this does not mean that when we lose someone close to us, that we don't mourn or grieve for that loss. It's actually very important to allow the grief process to move through our body and mind so we can process this as human beings. Someone wise once said to me, "The grief that we feel is deep love." Why we feel a deep level of sadness is because of the love we feel for that person. It's a reminder that we loved once and that love will remain within us. I'd like to say here, I do know what it means to lose people who are close. I do know what it means to grieve. I've been surrounded by that kind of loss my whole life. And I'm sure I'm not the only one in this room that has. As difficult as it can be, I have found that it has opened my heart in a certain way where there is a certain level of understanding and compassion that I have in life. I have found that death is humbling also, as it makes me think about my own mortality and how I'm living my life while I'm still alive in this physical body. So in life, there are other sorts of losses, such as an end of a relationship or a job, and of course other things. And usually there is a grieving process. I say usually because there are those losses that give us great joy and freedom when they happen in that moment. There are losses, but the losses open us up to new opportunities, new beginnings, and renewal. However, I would just like to add that there is certainly a process between the stage of the loss and renewal, the in-between, and there is an unfoldment that happens. And this is where we need to listen from within and take the necessary steps with trust and faith. The new opportunity may not be what we had expected, but it may be exactly what we need. In Hinduism, the universe is constantly cycling through 3 stages: creation, maintenance, and destruction. This cycle is the primary creation pattern of the universe and governs the transformation of energy from one form to another. This pattern is eternal and of vital necessity for life to occur. All of this is nature's way, the natural cycles of life. Life is so fragile. Its nature is transitory. It's easy to see how it changes in 1 year, a month, a week, a day, an hour, a minute, and second by second. On the level of matter, there are changes happening, and we see it all around us. And on the subtle levels, there are inner changes, changes of the mind, our inner world, and invisible changes on even the most subtlest levels. Nothing is permanent. No matter how tightly we squeeze, we cannot hold on to anything forever. It will slip through our fingers, changing shape as it slides away. We can scramble to try to chase after it, or we can relax and appreciate the feeling as it slips and slides across our hands. Either way, it will be gone. So rebirth means we have to die. There is no fear of rebirth, but fear of death. I'm not just speaking about the death of the physical body here. I'm also referring to when we need to let go or die to something in order to allow a new energy or a person or a thing to come into our lives. And this can be challenging because we're being asked to let go of something that is familiar to us. It's something we know. And there is fear of the unknown. We don't always know what lies ahead. And this can be terrifying. But when we can adopt the attitude that life is actually trying to help us, it also keeps our hearts and minds open to possibilities. At least that's what I've found in my experience. Embracing the cycle of death is one way of embracing faith. We can let go of what dies, knowing that life will spring forth once again. In my life, I have not only put faith and trust in the divine, but I've also had to put faith and trust in myself and my own inner guidance. I'm sure you're all familiar with this yourselves. I've had to take a deep breath and just dive in. A lot of times, to my surprise, I was led to opportunities far greater than I've ever expected. I gained new skills and I discovered talents that I didn't even know I had because I took that leap of faith. But I will also say it's led me to places that have been full of hard lessons, really hard lessons. And I've had to delve in deep and face darkness, my own darkness. We all have a shadow side and a light side. But to come back out into the light with some kind of new understanding, a deepening, and more growth. We don't need to search further than our own interactions or life circumstances. Oops, bear with me. The growth opportunity is right there, and we can trust in that. Life is leading us forward in its own mysterious way. As we know, life is very mysterious. Trying to avoid the change and growth that lies ahead of us adds to our struggle and suffering. So some questions I ask myself are questions like, how might life be trying to help me now? What is it teaching me? What is it teaching me about myself? Am I stepping in, or am I ignoring, resisting, or denying? But in saying that, I'd like to say sometimes we're not quite ready to make that shift. But either way, that divine energy will push us. So we need to connect with our innate virtues of courage, trust, and acceptance. With all this said, when we are tuned to the life-death-life nature, we know that nothing is fixed or finite. In the emptiness and stillness, there is always a soft, subtle pulse of existence. The essence of life in the world is absolute and omnipresent. It permeates all of creation, an intelligent energy that is always there. We need to go within and allow that very same consciousness that dwells within us to speak to us as our inner guide. Now, in reference to what happens to us when our physical body dies, I respect there are many different cultural beliefs around it. I would like to share with you a section from a sacred Hindu text called the Bhagavad Gita, because I really like the way it describes the soul as being immortal, an energy that never dies, but just changes form. And if this is not something that you resonate with, what belief do you have that brings you peace around dying? So, do not fear death, Krishna says, neither yours nor that of others. It is just a passage. It is the disappearance of this material body. However, you are beyond this material body. Even if the body perishes, you live on, so you do not have to worry or fear. What survives death is a sacred spirit in you that can never be destroyed. This spirit is not matter, it's pure energy. How can you destroy energy? Science states that energy can only appear in another form and it cannot be destroyed. As I have said, the energy of the spirit reappears in another form as matter, or it stays as energy. It is the energy behind the elements. It is the source which creates the elements. It is the energy that has always been and will be, never created, never destroyed. It is unchanging, neutral, eternal, and all-pervading. The experience of every enlightened being verifies the truth that Krishna is uttering. So this brings me to doing a little contemplation with you, contemplation on the breath. So I invite you to close your eyes and take some deep breaths, just inhaling deeply and exhaling fully. Bring your attention to your body. Feel the sensations of the body. Feel the buttocks on the chair, your feet on the floor, and feel your hands resting in your lap. Now bring your awareness back to your breath and be aware of the breath going in and going out. Feeling the sensations of the breath as it enters the nostrils and exits the nostrils. Keep this breath going. Each moment, death is happening in us at the organ and cellular levels. If you are aware, you will see both life and death are happening every moment, moment to moment, breath to breath, thought to thought. If you breathe a little more consciously, you will notice that with every inhalation there is life. With every exhalation there is death. When we inhale, we're breathing in oxygen and prana. We are breathing in life. And when we exhale the toxins, carbon dioxide, stress and tensions from our body. In order for us to take that next breath of life, we need to let that exhalation happen. We need to let that death happen. And gently, just bringing your awareness back into the body, back into the room, and open your eyes. Just taking a moment to stretch. So I'd like to end the talk by saying just a few more things. If we try to remain unchanging physically, mentally, emotionally, intellectually, or spiritually, it goes against the very nature of our being. We were meant to change. We are meant to grow and evolve. When we resist change, we fight the very movement that energizes life itself. We can never escape the process of aging. The unfolding passage of time will always catch up. When we realize that we are one with this eternal process of movement and we no longer push against it, we step into the natural flow of life itself. We are the ever-flowing and sparkling energy of awareness. And with that, I end.